Good morning. I am off into town today to ostensibly the purpose of which is to collect I do like 2Bs beside the seaside. I think I'd mentioned in a previous vlog or two that that's what I'd be doing because unsurprisingly, but unfortunately, it didn't sell. To be fair, someone was interested, but I've decided to perhaps provide them alternative artwork. And instead this is going to go in the beach house where it's possibly a little more appropriately situated. Anyway, I'm off to collect that, but I'm also going to be going to Bunnings to pick up a couple of bits and pieces. Some rebar to finish the floor of the Woodstore, which is to my right, which is why I'm looking over there. And also I'm going to be taking cuttings from the bay tree to try and generate new plants, some possibly for here, but mostly for the beach house. So I'll be getting some special potting mix for that. But perhaps more enjoyably, I am taking a couple of prints that I got as Christmas presents from Will to the framers. If I can, I might try and get some footage once I've settled on the mount and the frame, just to show you what they will eventually look like. But we'll see how that goes. I may well forget. Nevertheless, that's something that I'm really looking forward to. It's always exciting to take pictures to the framers, and then you have that lovely wait, and then they come back and it's like Christmas all over again. So some quite nice things. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully shouldn't take too long, but that's what my morning's looking like today. First stop, Bunnings. The good thing about Bunnings is they've got a toilet, which is handy when you've done a drive as long as I have first thing in the morning. I have moved on to Woolworths now, but just to show you what I got. 2 bags of this. This is for the project of trying to grow more bay trees from cuttings, and then that's just the rebar for the Woodstore project. So quite pleased with that, and now I'm off to get a bit of groceries from Woolworths. Here I am then, walking the art equivalent of the walk of shame as I go to collect I do like 2Bs beside the seaside from the gallery from which it's never left to a new home. Anyway, it'll have a nice new home. I'll maybe show you it once I've hung it at the beach house, but yes, off to go and collect it now. Okay. So, quite a nice fine frame with the maroon. I think that looks really, really nice. And it works well on this one too. Well, our work here is done. You'll have seen there a little bit of footage of the frame and the mount that I've chosen for these prints of Salisbury Cathedral, the exterior and the east nave. These were part of my Christmas presents from Will, so I'm really looking forward to getting those back. So that's all chosen and paid for. Now I just have to wait for them to be ready, then we can go and collect them and hang them somewhere in the house if we can find space. We've got some spots in mind, but anyway, really looking forward to seeing these. I think that the mounts and the frame will really do suit the print, so Very, very pleased with that. I do like to bees beside the seaside is behind me, so now it's time to head home. Good morning. I don't know if you can tell from behind me, but it's actually quite drizzly this morning, which is music to my ears, and I'm even wearing a hoodie, which is in stark contrast to what I've been wearing the past few days. But as the weather predicted, it has taken a turn this weekend, which is, as I say, music to my ears, because it means that I'm going to be able to crack on with a few projects outdoors which weren't accessible to me in the heat. So I've got 3 days to get some work underway before the weather ramps up again, but then it's going to cool down again, so it's going to be a bit on and off. But as you may be able to tell, I've headed towards the wood store because, as you would have seen, I picked up the remaining bits of metal I need. Let me just pop my drill down and my trusty leveler. I picked up the metal, which means that I can now finish the wall, which means I can now finish the floor on this side of the wood store. I've got everything I need. I've got the wood, I've got the metal to hold the wood down, and I've got the mesh to go on top of the metal. Well, for those of you who were curious as to how I got along, I have managed to get the final piece of flooring down, and it's all stapled in and attached. It's all pretty solid. But what I realise I'm not going to be able to do realistically until Will's back is put the bracing up for the chicken wire. So unfortunately, I just ran out of time. So that's as far as I've been able to get. However, you know, that's still not nothing. And I did still have to raise it really quite far off of the ground. I'm glad I didn't try to keep the floor level. This end, it's not that much shorter actually. But by the time I would have got down to here, that would have been significantly higher. I mean, it's not that level as it is, because I just didn't have bigger wood, but it's better. And that's all I need. Adequate. My catchphrase, it's adequate. So there's not much more I can do down here. And the Bromby's out of action, so I can't really that easily process wood because I'm very close to the top now and it's a long way to walk carrying all that equipment. But maybe I'll have to. I'm working on filling that bay, and part of this preparation is it won't take long to fill that one, and so I need this bay at least ready to be able to start this bay off. Anyway, I will go and put my feet up now. It's pretty close to lunchtime, so that's a sort of natural place to stop. I'll put my equipment away, and then I've got an afternoon of sewing ahead of me. I don't know if this happens to you, but my sewing basket has got more and more extreme, and darning basket at that actually. So I haven't really been able to get around it because not because I've been busy with lots of things to do, but because in order to keep the house cool, we draw the curtains. And so it's just been too dark realistically to do any sewing. But the weather's on my side, so yes, a morning of DIYing, woodworky type stuff, and an afternoon of sewing. That's what my day is now looking like, since I can't do everything I wanted to do in the wood store. I must confess, I haven't stopped for lunch yet because I've got carried away doing some rearranging of things in a couple of places. This all came about because you may have noticed in the background sometimes when I've been in the wood store, a little kitchen cabinet which Will rescued. And I'll show you what I've done with that in a minute, but since I'm here. So I replaced this with that little kitchen cabinet outside the back of the house. and I've decided I'll bring it down here and use it as additional storage for our mechanical stuff. Now, I have tried to attach it to this piece of wood, so it's attached in two places with these coach screws, so it is quite sturdy, but unfortunately our ratchet set isn't working. So I've tightened it as much as I can with a spanner, so I hope that'll keep Will happy. But what this means is that there's not all stuff on top of other stuff, and you know, I find as soon as you're having to move things to find other things, it becomes a bit complicated. All of the liquidy stuff is here rather than a combination on this desk and in there. So this means this is now much more accessible, the mechanical stuff that's in there. So much better. And then up at the house, I popped this little unit on a dolly and pushed it up the hill, because actually it's really very heavy. It's very solidly built, and so that little open bookcase now has been replaced by this. I think in an ideal world I would like to have the batteries in there, but the batteries take up too much space and they're in plastic containers, and they are undercover here anyway, this veranda. But then this is what it looks like on the inside. So gardening stuff, car washing stuff, and laundry and sundry cleaning stuff. So I'm quite pleased with that. And you know, everything is possibly a little more bushfire safe in that it's in a cupboard. And no, I don't mind that it's slightly weird having this kind of stuff outside. I actually think it's very practical. Anyway, now I am going to have lunch, and says this currawong, he's been patiently waiting.
This is not something you see every day, but I found what I thought was a dead bat. It turns out the bat is not dead at all. It's daylight, and they shouldn't really be around during daylight. So I don't quite know what's happened with this poor bat, but I'm going to pick him or her up and try and relocate the bat to somewhere dark and shady, and I'll just leave him or her.
If anything, it is even gloomier today. It is actively raining, which suits me. I'm down in the remnants of my potting shed because I'm going to just quickly get on with the bay tree propagating project. So all that's going to involve, I think, is taking some of my selection of pots, filling them with this potting mix, and then taking as many cuttings as I've got pots. There we go then. Fingers crossed. 20 new bay trees ready to be planted out in autumn. It's early mid-ish February as I film this, so give them till sort of maybe April. That's autumn here, and hopefully they'll be ready to plant out if they survive. I've never tried doing this with the bay trees before, so we'll see how it goes, but I have had great success with other plants growing them just from cuttings. Basically all I did was fill the pots with special compost for this task, took off some cuttings from the top of the bay tree, which is where it is most actively growing. So as you can see, quite a lot of these are in active growth, which is good. Pretty much all of them, that's what I want. I've put them here because they will get some sunlight, but they won't get, hopefully, baked by overly hot sunlight. I may have to shuffle it about. The reason I've done it today over this weekend is because it's going to be a gloomier, cooler weekend, so hopefully that'll enable them to establish a bit easier than if it was a baking hot 34-degree day. They've been well watered, and all I'll do now is possibly shuffle them along if these ones are getting too much direct sunlight on hot days, and just treat them like cut flowers and keep them really well watered. And what I'd like to see is them not going brown and dying, but rather just sort of staying like this, and then suddenly we'll notice them starting to grow. I'll keep you updated, but essentially if they make it, there's a combination of plants here to form a hedge at the front of the beach house property, and to form a hedge along our driveway here, leading up from the wood store up towards the house, because we quite like the idea of turning that into a sort of secret garden, so that you can't see it from the drive, but you know, take a turn around the corner and there you have a lovely secret garden. So that's our intention for these plants. As I say, keep your fingers crossed, but hopefully they'll take.